Hello everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel once again. Today we'll be talking about a social impact issue that affects almost everyone I know really. We'll be talking about a skill mismatch between educational training and the job market. Stay with us. I would consider this a subject that carries social implications, and that's why we're tabling it today. I'll be giving you a bit of my own story, starting from how I wanted to study mass communication from childhood. I remember days when I would tell my dad that mass communication is what I wanted to study, especially the transition between JS3 and SS1, where taking either science or arts was a very crucial decision to make. So my dad insisted that I should take a science course. And what was his reason? Because you'll be more marketable in the future. He was of the opinion that mass communication was not something. He said, what would you do with mass communication? Do you want to sing? Do you want to be working in radio station? Like, what's the plan exactly? I couldn't answer him. All I knew was I wanted to speak. I wanted to be able to communicate properly. And he said no. From mass communication, it was time to get into university. Remember, my dream of mass communication has been killed already. And my dad said, again, my dad, out of love, of course, my dad had said I should put in for architecture, which I actually did. I applied for architecture to Ahmadu Bello University. I was denied. And then I tried for Obafemi Awolowo University for electronics and electrical engineering, which I was given, by the way. But my dad had said, let's go for architecture. And then when I got to school, I was like, what of my admission? Let me check it. I saw that I was given industrial design as opposed to the architecture I wanted. Okay, so what of the electrical electronics engineering admission you had in the other side? It said I needed all my papers to be complete. By the way, I had a D in maths. So it was either take the electrical electronics engineering, but alongside you go and study maths so that you make sure you have either an A or a B, or you go and do the industrial design that Ahmadu Bello University had already given you. So of course, naturally, nobody wants to spend an extra year at home. I went for industrial design, right? Okay, so fast forward to school is over. My school actually did me another bad thing. Instead of giving me a certificate with industrial design, they gave me a specialty in glass technology. So by the way, my certificate carries glass technology as opposed to industrial design, right? So coming out of school, my dad was like, what are you going to do? Why did Ahmadu Bello University give you glass technology to do what with it? That's how we started discussing what's the way forward. Remember, we're coming from mass communication, right? So from there, he said, let me go for ICANN lessons. We have landed in accounting now, right? Mass communication, electrical electronics engineering, glass technology. Now we're in accounting. Okay, so I started taking accounting classes in ICANN, started from foundation, these skills, the professionals level until I qualified. So now there's me, who is a glass technologist, an accountant, a former mass communicator, just a lot of things, right? Okay, so I was done with ICANN. I started working with my accounting certificate. And along the line, I discovered I had a passion for sustainability, and then I got into sustainability and climate change and climate impact. So now I'm a sustainability consultant, I'm an accountant, I'm an industrial designer, I'm a glass technologist, and I'm just a lot of things, right? And I'm pretty sure my story is very relatable. I'm sure there are one or two people watching this video, more than one or two people for real, who probably studied botany in school, but now they're in the banking sector, or you studied biochemistry in school, but now you're an accountant. Just a lot of skill mismatch going on. And I sat down to think about it, and I was like, what's the main cause of this skill mismatch? How is it that what you studied in school is most times not what you're practicing in real life? So now that we have a background story to work with, why does this happen? I have 3 ideas on why I think this happens. First of all, I think we as Nigerians living in a developing country, as it were, we're constantly making decisions majorly on the need to survive. It's also one of the reasons why innovation is stifled in this country, because decisions are made purely based on survival. So what's the next big thing? How can I secure the next bag? Where am I getting the next money to feed from? So if the career choices you're making are not going to bring money in the immediate, we as Nigerians most likely will shrug it off. is why what you studied and what you're practicing right now are so very different. Because of course the bank is going to pay you faster than Botany is going to pay you. You're going to spend less time in the job market looking for a job than if you're as a veterinarian and looking for a hospital to work with to treat dogs, right? Secondly, I also think that there's also the lack of opportunity factor. So for example, there are a lot of people looking for international jobs right now because what we have on ground locally may not be able to serve the population we have right now as Nigerians. Finally, I think there's the issue of poverty to consider. Considering we're a very poor country and with a lot of people living below the poverty line, there's also the fact that people make decisions solely out of the fear of poverty. So I'm going to go and study medicine because I think most likely medicine will give me a paying job. Or I'm going to study data analysis or go into tech right now, which is a rainy thing, of course, because I think that is going to take me out of poverty. So passion is not pursued. We don't stay the course for what we studied because there's the poverty factor. So what's the downside of this skill mismatch? Number one, and most importantly, there's the fact that you cannot gain mastery at a subject because we keep jumping from one thing to the next thing, right? So in developed countries and Western countries, you hear that someone has been a literary genius for the past 25 years. That's not a luxury we have in this part of the world because there's no time to actually focus and master a subject because you're on to the next thing. Secondly, it stifles innovation. So I have discovered that you can't innovate on a subject matter you've not gained mastery at. It's why developed nations have the advantage over us. You hear someone, like I said earlier, who has been a literary genius for over 25 years. Someone like that can move from the basics into innovation because it's a subject matter you spent a lot of time on. You've spent years on learning, relearning. That's not a luxury we have in this part of the world. Now we'll be going to the upside of this, and this is a subject matter that actually excites me because one of the things about Nigerians is that anywhere you go to in any part of the world, they will tell you Nigerians can adapt. And this ability to adapt comes from the fact that we can do one thing and jump to another thing and go to the next thing. For as long as we know that that's where the money is, any Nigerian you see is always jumping to the next thing. And that means that we're able to thrive in any society. You hear right now of a medical doctor, for example, who has spent the past 7 years learning to be a doctor. You hear that the person has relocated to Canada and now they're a data analyst. And you're wondering, how is this person that was once a medical doctor now a data analyst? And by the way, is a data analyst and doing better than people that have been analyzing data for the past 12 years. And that's because we have the ability to thrive and adapt to any situation we find ourselves in. That's one of the positives I've seen on this subject matter. So please share your experience with us in the comment section. What did you study in school and what are you currently practicing? Let's all have a good laugh and learn from each other.